It is a Monday. Welcome to Lunchtime Chat on KBN TV, the finest television. I hope you reported for work despite others who had their calendars showing that Monday is a holiday as well as Tuesday. I hope you heard, or rather you checked on social media, that this holiday was cancelled, and I hope you reported for work, or rather you did what you were supposed to do today. My name is Daisy Achel, and I'm always excited to be here. It's good to know that you are watching KBN TV, the finest television, and it's good to know that you are being productive. Yeah, I hope you also saw what the president had announced in regards to just having a lot of holidays and then being productive at the same time. So I hope you are also very, very productive. We're live on GoTV channel 27, Topstar channel 102, and DSTV on channel 279. We're also live on Facebook, so you will be dropping me those comments in our section, in our comments section. So we want to get your views, and if you decide to give me a call, the number is right on your screen. Just start by reducing your volume on your TV set so that we don't get that feedback from my end. Well, despite all that issues to do with borrowing, by now you know that we had the government was talking about debt restructuring, and then we also saw the announcement of government planning to borrow an additional of 14.8 billion kwacha to cover budget shortfalls. So that is what we are looking at this afternoon on Lunchtime Chat. Do you think we should continue borrowing as a country, or rather, where should we focus? Where should our focus be in regards to sectors? Where can we get that money despite resorting to just borrowing in case we see a shortfall in our budget? So you get to share with me on the number appearing on the screen. I know it's too early. Even before I could introduce my guests, people have already started calling, but I will start picking up your calls. If you want to participate, make sure that you start by reducing the volume on your TV set. Now, in the studio, I am joined by Mr. Bartholomew Phiri, who is Lusaka Province Youth Secretary, coming from the Socialist Party. Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Chat.
Thank you so much, Comrade Taizia. Good afternoon to you. It's my pleasure to be hosted here.
All right. Quite interesting. I'm seeing you're wearing black, and I'm still asking myself, is it because of us having a funeral despite not having this period being declared as a period of national mourning? What's your take on this one? I know we haven't yet buried our former 60th Republican president, but what's your quick take on this one? Issues to do with the funeral and the government, how to just bury a statesman.
Thank you so much. The issue of the funeral of our late former president, Dr. Edgar Lungu, has sparked debate in the country, and people are talking about it. But I'm glad that we've got constitutional lawyers that have issued several statements regarding the same issue. We've been told to say there is no law whatsoever that guides on how these state funerals should be done or how to go about it. But then what we have are precedences, or maybe I would also talk about traditional, meaning that it's a matter of getting into an agreement between government and the family of our late president, Dr. Edgar Lungu. So I think my take on this one is that these things are very clear and straightforward. It's just unfortunate that after the agreement and negotiations that were done between two families, between the family and the government, later on we see a breach or a shift from the actual agreement to a different one, which also prompted the family to again change direction. And today we are in this problem that we are facing today. But I think I'll take the point of Council John Sangwa, who advised that we need to put a law in place, and I'm sure that government would take this as an opportunity to ensure that instead of focusing on the constitutional amendment regarding the proportionate representation we've been hearing about, I think we can shift the constitutional amendment to that. We need a law that will guide so that we can get rid of these conflicts whenever there is a funeral of a former head of state or a high-profile person dies. So that's what it is. It's unfortunate that we haven't taken that step. Instead, we are now fighting over a deceased person, a body of the former president of this country. And I'm glad that the South African law recognizes that you cannot grab someone's funeral and make it yours, just like how my president, Dr. Fred Membe, had put it. So I think my take on this one is that a state funeral is still a state funeral, even when the president doesn't attend to the state funeral, but it's a state funeral. So it's unfortunate, and then this also has raised a lot of questions where people are now asking the desperation of the government over this funeral, because I think it's an illusion to think that it can only be considered a state funeral when the president is in attendance. I think it isn't a state funeral just because the president is in attendance, but a state funeral is therefore given to a nation when it is declared by government itself in honor and also recognizing the contribution of a leader who has passed away. We've had state funerals before where the president has not attended, but it was still a state funeral. So I think my take on that one, or my comment on that one, I think a second thought is a critical thought. So I think the government should have a second thought. And it's unfortunate that the government would decide to drag a grieving family to court over the same issue. And yet we know for sure that we do not have any law that more like it's a mandate that when a former head of state dies, then the family wishes are not considered. It's unfortunate.
Okay, interesting. Now, moving on, getting into our topic of discussion this afternoon, where government had announced that they plan to borrow an additional 14.8 billion kwacha from the domestic market to cover up budget shortfalls in an indictment of the current administration's fiscal mismanagement and broken promises. So now, Kasonde Mwenda, who is the president for Economic Freedom Fighters, says the move exposes the reality that despite UPND's pledges of reform and discipline, it is simply repeating the failed policies of the Patriotic Front by accumulating unsustainable debt. Now, Mr. Mwenda says the UPND's fiscal recklessness is not only a continuation of past mistakes, but also a betrayal of every Zambian who believed in the promise of a new dawn. So I think let's first of all have a look at this clip by Kasonde Mwenda.
The time for half measures and half promises has ended. The UPND has proven that they are not different from the PF. Same debt accumulation, same fiscal irresponsibility, same betrayal of Zambia's aspirations. The IMF program has failed to deliver the promised transformation and has instead the time for half measures and half promises has ended. The UPND has proven that they are not different from the PF. Same debt accumulation, same fiscal irresponsibility, same betrayal of Zambia's aspirations. The IMF program has failed to deliver the promised transformation and has instead provided cover for continued borrowing and tax increases. We call upon all patriotic Zambians to reject this cycle of debt accumulation and economic bondage. The EFF represents a genuine alternative, a movement committed to economic freedom, resource control, and empowerment of our people. We will not borrow to foreign interests at the expense of Zambian sovereignty. As we approach 2026, Zambians have a choice. Continue with the failed policies of borrowing and tax increases, or embrace the revolutionary path of economic freedom and self-determination. The EFF is ready to lead this transformation, to break the chains of economic dependence, and to build a Zambia that works for all its citizens. The revolution for economic freedom is not just coming, it is here. Join us in building a prosperous, self-reliant Zambia where our mineral wealth benefits our people, where our youth have got opportunities, and where no Zambian goes hungry while our resources enriching foreign.
EFF views on the announcement that was made by government that they plan to borrow an additional 14.8 billion kwacha to cover up for budget shortfall. So if you're giving me a call, you are commenting on that, you start by reducing the volume on your TV set, or you can simply drop a text message. Mr. Phiri, your quick take on this one. Issues of borrowing as a country. Are we ever going to just reach a level where we will be debt-free and we won't be thinking of borrowing? Is it possible for a country like Zambia to reach that level?
All right, thank you so much. I'll begin first by saying that the UPND government made a promise to the Zambian people, and they were so vocal in terms of borrowing. They criticized much the Patriotic Front in terms of borrowing, but today they have gone against what they were promising the Zambian people. So the UPND government has borrowed significantly since taking power in 2021. Now, a little bit breakdown on how the UPND government have borrowed external debts from today we can talk about 1.6 billion that has been borrowed according to the finance minister, Honorable Stumbekom Sokotwani. And domestic borrowing, it has soared from 194 billion to 225 billion. So the UPND said the PF had borrowed and their borrowing had reached the roofing level. We don't know the criteria they have used, where they have gone beyond what the PF borrowed. And they were talking about debt restructuring, and they were so vocal, you know, dancing and celebrating that they have achieved the debt restructuring, which was not even a solution to the debts that Zambia has. Now, coming back to your question, when you say, are we going to rely on borrowing as a nation? We cannot. We become slaves to our masters that are lending us those monies. What we are lacking today is leadership. Because if we had a leadership that is so concerned, I think we can reduce on that. That's why we, the Socialist Party, have been advocating much on these issues. We have got our liberation icons, you know, the likes of Kenneth Kaunda, Julius Nyerere, Robert Mugabe, Joshua Nkomo, and many others. They were independence liberation struggles. But today, what we have, we are lacking economic independence. That's what we are fighting for. That's why we, the Socialist Party, have been talking about if we cannot be independent in terms of economy, we cannot advance. So what we are lacking is economic independence. And that is why we've been talking much about all these natural resources that we have. Zambia today doesn't own the economy. Why? Because most of these mines, they are not run by our people. Most of key sectors that has to deal with the economy are not managed by our own people. Instead, we rely on debts, and then after that, we want to carry out a debt restructuring, thinking that it's the solution to the crisis that we have. No. So I think as a country, we need to make wise decisions if we are to navigate through these challenges that we are facing. And Kasonde Mwenda was right when he says they have gone against their promises to the Zambian people. And he said something like, we need to think wise come 2026. Should we continue with these policies that the UPND are implementing? What we need are policies that are going to speak for a common Zambian. Okay, policies that have been implemented, if they're not advancing the agenda of a common Zambian, then they are useless. Why should we continue on the same trajectory if at all a common Zambian cannot benefit from it? So I think my take on that one is that the UPND government should stick to their promises, but I doubt if they will, because time has gone.
Let's also allow some callers to also participate. You are through to lunchtime chat. Good afternoon. Tachama bwino mwachama bwanju.
Mgamba na wapili ala.
Mbapiri.
in government nangoni kantemba kanga. Because guys, you know what the government kazikongola chendala. Hello?
Timvela Phiri.
Ndalama zevakongola government vamapeleka kuti ndalama because government imapasiwa ndalama madonors vamapasa ndalama but government pezeza peka zingokongola ndalama yachikokongola ndalama za ntikongo yamekongola government sitiziona kwa mezi yenda muchalo mkalinjala ayi cost of living ivakanga kuti vachita address but vongokongola ndalama izo ndalama zavafuna kukongola nzachani because Zambia ni major producer ya copper. Why fish to manage my resources yatu mu Zambia kuti tele kukongola yanga muka business manje apo yake pampanda pro kongola ndano apeleka kuti ndalama izo zalwa kongola kumbukira paso we blend la ola nalika kongola ndalama za makumba gold zija babweza mangongole yote anapweza mpena kongole kumbukira paso mwana wamanga apo 2 years in power 6 years old manje bakuru shoma statani mwayona so leadership ya meya bongala semaje abakuru bakangi wachape beta wafada babolani ngacharo tukoze bakuru bone kase kupeza bachite tukoze bakongole ndalama izi mcharo muno muri njara ariko so living kalipua bana kongola ndalama izi kuchira na wazao wa PF wanapanga ku hospital wanapanga marodi badwende ndalama Afrika kwa economy kalipati so izi ndalama watu wakongole na kongola why wakongole why pasa wata create kama mine ya metili nayo why wapata mafolena zindewa nga mine wakumbanda mazana why twasha was create na mine ya America because minerals mu Zambia kuti sifikano kongola minerals antina mu Zambia mu ita manage buno mu Zambia nyaje minerals yatu kwashita manage tingakwani ise kwa mbo kushita vitu vose na minerals yatu na ndivyo kongola ndalama hizo so the government washita mara ninga government munga kantemba muona kama promises yao wezo paka mu position wezo paka buno mane but mabwera mpando wewe bangala fitilu wa flambo kongola ndalama zacha so hizo ndalama kwa utuko kongola ndalama hizo sipanga esa so government is concentrating ngani ama minerals zinotilina mu Zambia tikista producing minerals yake na tazuguli sia na mama.
Thank you very much. You can also give us a call on the number appearing on your screen. We want to get your views on the announcement that was made by government that it plans to borrow an additional 14.8 billion kwacha to cover for budget shortfalls. Your quick take on that announcement. You are through to Lunchtime Chat. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. You are through to Lunchtime Chat.
Mlibwanji wa taiza.
Tidibwino mlibwanji.
Tidibwino inendine ana leo na dikuno kumporokoso.
Eva kulibwanji kumporokoso.
Kumporokoso kuisabe bwino. Tameni funa ukamba hapo pali drama metaona pa screen hapa. Drama za eti zamene bakongola sizi ba momeze masenzera chifukwa alo bantu badandaula maningi ero monga kuno kumporokoso siona noona monga tili mu Zambia karibu ona kona chama chinachinja kutoka MPF sio na chabe olo kama news hapa tu na chabe ni western north western southern manje ndaba zamene bakongola bapeleka kuti bantu bakaliolira balira njala bintu sivyenda bwino ero problem imoja menaona mu Zambia. That's all the presidents bamene nawo bamene banachoka hapo ndise bantu bameti bamalengesa kuti bankale bonga bali benze bota kuti nenga nikonda president olotete chintu choyipa ingo supporta chabe instead tibacheka advise kuti yayi apa pa president ya msachiso but tilibize kuba president kuti bwanji but adea rasipaja ipamela zakaona kuti kansi bintu bamene zochita bandifrenzo okondera nabo bamene babazinguluka abo ndiye bamene babalengesa kuti bankale monga bali benzebu no wanda mu Zambia tankana na muntu umozi woku koma tankana mamandazi kivuko cha kuti kulibe bamene bati advise bakate zikomo kwambiri
zikomo. All right, you can also give us a call on the number appearing on your screen. We want to get your views. We want to get what you have to say. Do you think government should go ahead to just borrow an additional 14.8 billion kwacha to cover budget shortfalls? The issue of borrowing, do you think, or rather, would you say that probably the type of borrowing and the money will be put to good use compared to the patriotic front? Because I'm sure this is some of the promises that we had to say once they come into power, issues of borrowing will probably be a thing of the past. But do you think maybe they've reached a point where they just need to borrow to see development in some sectors as well as projects being implemented?
Thank you. So on the issues of borrowing, this is not the first time that the UPND are borrowing. I think the question should be, when they borrowed at first, did they use that money for an intended purpose? If no, what guarantee do the Zambian people have that the borrowing of 14.8 billion today would cover for all these shortages they're talking about today? There is no guarantee that the money that will be borrowed will be used for an intended purpose. It is 4 years, because we are clocking 4 years by just a month from now. There will be 4 years in office. What tangible development have they delivered to the Zambian people? In my view, it is zero. Yes, they have talked much about CDF. They've talked much about paying off the workers that had retired some years back, the retirees. But again, when you borrow money, the money that you are borrowing is used for what? And this is the question that Zambians are asking, not politicians, but Zambians are asking to say, if you borrow this money, what are you going to use it for? Today we are told that medicines are being stolen from the hospitals, meaning that the thieves are stealing, because if medications are being stolen, it means thieves are the ones that are stealing. So who are those thieves? Today we are hearing borrowing about 14.8 billion. For what purpose? So I think my take on this one is that it's better va UPND vasapempe ndrama kapena vasakongole ndrama zamene zizabwera kutisia ma problems. I followed the debt restructuring that was conducted some is it a year ago? It was pushed further to somewhere in if not mistaken, it has to be in 2030, 2050, somewhere there, when they have gone out of office. So whose burden will that be? It will be for us as young people. That will be probably, if God allows it, some of us will be in those offices. How are we going to pay back those monies? So it's like transferring the burden of your failure to the next generation that will come after you. Because I believe by that age, I think President Hichilema will be washukuru, okay, because he's over 60 years. So talking about 2050, 20 plus, he will be somewhere 80, okay? So I think when you are given an opportunity to lead the nation, please ensure that you create an enabling environment for the next generation that comes after you. Unlike you putting the next generation in a mess where they will have this whole pressure of paying back the debts that you had borrowed for, I would call it, it can be for personal consumption. Because if it is there for the nation, I think by now we should see some other development undertaken, infrastructure development. I think we need to see those. So Zambians are concerned. And as for me, I don't think it will be wise for the UPND to continue borrowing. Because I doubt if next year they will continue being in office, because we are flushing them out. So I don't see any reason to borrow money that you cannot even pay back, because it's only 9 months that you're living
in a situation now, that they really need this money, and they still they're left with no option but to borrow. Where else do you think they can borrow from apart from domestic markets?
Thank you so much, comrade.
Where else?
I want to talk about the issue of cadarism. Cadres are making money. We are yet to verify this information if it is true. I conducted a research on it with my team, and we are still doing the same, and very soon we'll come and arrive to the conclusion. We've got about 3, if not 4, bus stations in town that are well known. And when you look at these routes, there's a route that comes from Stanley all the way to Charleston, Chichipata, Kabanana Maproti, Mandevu, Chaisa Mandevu. Then we've got Zanimone 610, we've got also Matero. I'm told, with the information that we have, is that cadres are getting about 2,500 for each route, and we have got 7 routes. Meaning that the same 7 routes that we have, if we are to multiply by 2,500, approximately we can have about 14,000, if not mistaken. So that's a day. If cadres are able to make 14,000, or let's put it at 15,000, if they are able to make 15,000 in a day, how much can they make in a week? Because for 2 days, that's about 30,000. So we are talking about 60,000 in a week, okay? Even more, about 75,000 in a week. How much money can they make in a month? How much money can they make in a year? That's a lot of money. We can even clock a 1 pin. So, can this money not be used to develop this nation? It can. So we are yet to verify this. I'm answering to your question that you say, where else could they borrow, or where else could they get the money apart from domestic markets?
Yeah.
So government can make money in different ways.
Okay,
But what we are lacking here today is lack of leadership, comrade, and lack of transparency and honesty.
Okay, let's allow more calls. You are through to lunchtime chat. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Chris calling from Livingston.
You can go ahead.
Yes, madam. That how much man? 12 billion.
Or 14.
14 billion, 14.8 billion.
Yes.
What they want to do?
Sir, I beg your pardon?
What the government want to borrow?
Yes.
That is a time wasted. They came into power to say that PF borrowed a lot of money. Hello?
Yes, we're getting you.
Yes. So let them remove those that are making that road, Dollar Dewey Road, which the money they got from NAPSA. How much is that money? The people are getting money every day. Even today where they are there, those cadres that are there, they've got money. They should not come and play us games. They came to do what they promised us, not to borrow. They are saying that they have making transactions that the government has borrowed the road, the previous government. But what of today? Where are they going to leave those credits to us, to our grandchildren? Zambia is not like that. Let that solve the economic. Let us solve the fuel prices and the food shortage that is in Zambia, not in borrowing. They borrow for whom?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. You can also give us a call on the number appearing on your screen. In case you have just joined us, we are looking at the issue at hand where government announced that they are planning to borrow that 14.8 billion kwacha from the domestic market to cover budget shortfalls in an indictment of the current administration's fiscal mismanagement and broken promises. That is what EFF President Kasonde Mwenda probably looks at this. He feels probably they're failing to just manage the resources in the country, and he also gave reasons how they're going to probably manage to ensure that they avoid borrowing. And he also talked about them giving Zambians promises, and he feels they are betraying Zambians because this is not what they promised Zambians. So you can also give me a call on the number appearing on your screen. You are through to lunchtime chat. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. How are you?
Well, your name and where are you calling from?
You are speaking to Kazembe from Kabwe.
You can go ahead, Mr. Kazembe.
Yes, madam. I feel it is not proper for government to borrow that money because one, they borrow, they don't tell us, and we are not seeing any development. I'll give you an example here in Kabwe where I am. We used to have the Kabwe mine. Come and see it today. It is a sad story because the Black Mountain is gone and the tippers are moving every minute, every second, making money. Cutters all over. They are packing very expensive vehicles. why can't they get that same money? They extract money from it. Because Chinese are all over. We've got a lot of money in stuff, but only few individuals are benefiting. So that the money that they will get, they haven't even explained how are they going to pay it in how many years. The people who suffer, it is us, the young people, because they will face out. What are we going to be telling our children and our grandchildren? It is a very sad story. Let them abort it.
Thank you very much.
Let them introduce tax to the mine. Why should we give them holidays? In their country, you cannot have a holiday. They don't allow that. But why is that here? We have given them holidays. That money can be made within 6 months or a year. We'll be able to have that money. I feel the ministers just failed us.
All right.
Even the president himself is a failure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, you can also give us a call on the number appearing on your screen. We are looking at the issue at hand where government is planning to borrow an additional 14.8 billion kwacha from domestic market to cater for budget shortfalls. So you are commenting on that. Start by reducing the volume on your TV set. And if you've called, please also allow us to get views from other people, so that we get as many views as we can get from different people. The number is right on your screen, or you can simply drop a text message. I would love to get your views, hear what you have to say in regards to government's plan to borrow from domestic market. This text here says, good afternoon, madam, and the side there. This is Leonard Kabamba from Livingston. What is most surprising with this current government is that they are doing what they were condemning when they were in opposition, borrowing all that amount of 14.8 billion kwacha when we can't see development in our country. It's almost 4 years in office now, and take note that it's not the first time UPND is borrowing. I think, in my view, borrowing that huge amount of money, they are putting our own country on danger. Almost 4 years in office, instead of country to change from bad to better, but it's other way around, from bad to worse. So you can also drop a text message, or you can simply give me a call on the number appearing on your screen. This one says, let them sell presidential jet for Dr. Lungu and use the money as they promised. All right, you can also give me a call on the number appearing on your screen. Let us also pick up this call. You are through to lunchtime chat. Good afternoon. Tachoma bwino machoma bwanji.
Daniel within Lusaka.
You can go ahead.
Government serious, mami. This one is not a serious government. That's why 2026 Africa kuchoka. In government, is outside the box. In government, is a West government, a government. Because I watched them come out and government is not transparent. Leadership transparent. Because not in drama zenda kuti ndama zafuna kongola kasongola chenda mapereka kuti vaika chema tumba zao vantu vavutika mchana. UPND is a West government among so the government 2026 vafuna kuchoka vafuna guys outside the box. They don't think outside the box. That's a problem. Because on ndama zaspenda kupangira marodi, why don't they think outside the box? Munga mfana kupigira fast kugula machinery machinery yanu ndama mabilioni ampasa ma Chinese ma engineers rest tayari mnamza mugula machinery yose mafaka pa ground marodi tinga tipangapo note mpezi katumuzi na mabilioni kwa topanga marodi tulika machinery je mabilioni ya tagula machinery italeta mcharo chatu muno tizisipangira marodi. That's outside the box. So in government, it doesn't think outside the box. Opposition is a solution. But you are kind of shit. Drama is often going to better with his own drama. It's not transparent. It's on drama. But it's a government lake. He leadership of Zambia and other business and paper. Uganda the president, who put a shooting and drama the very way, but the rest of 20 million Zambians are poverty. Or on the way to work and the president, what was 100 water. But my position is about here, I'm going to put up with so 2026 wafuna kuchoka. UPND yalitanjara mcharo, yalitamajaki mcharo. Kulibeba mechita. The education CDF vote is a waste of time. Drama ya kama tunakongoza zaidi, wafuna peleka kuti drama. Wafuna wagawani ndio wakachoka 6. Zambia kwa shift. This is necessary. Muna fasa rangi na mkumbule zote.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution. So we are still looking at the plans or the announcement that was made by government that they plan to borrow 14.8 billion kwacha to cover up on a budget shortfalls. Now they're planning to borrow from domestic markets. Now, just for you to understand what this means. Now, domestic market refers to the market for goods and services within a specific country. So in this case, we're talking about production, consumption, and trade that occurs within the boundaries of the nation. So this is where they are planning to borrow from so that they can cater for other shortfalls. Now we've seen that even the time that they've now also increased the CDF allocation, in case you missed that out as well. So but this time around we're looking at the plans to borrow 14.8 billion kwacha from a domestic market. So start by reducing the volume on your TV set and we continue with this conversation. You are through to Lunchtime Chat. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Your name and where are you calling from?
Titumira kumazabuka ni wa Oscar Nambu.
Yeah, about Oscar.
Tayona yonkani wa taiza. Ndao wa government wa za Kongole kairo nani tinatitika kuno kumazabuka. Ba PF wanagula greta na tipa. Zandrama ze wanakongola ba PF. Tipa inapewa na greta kuti ba Edgar Lungu waoneke kwati sibasebenza. Muntu anali kukomplena greta na tipa anangenesewa nchito kuli ba UPND utasiye kukomplena. Manje lose bazingo ukongola ndramero zipewa. Wakangiwa kulita anti corruption nezo kambati voterani suti. MP akarinwa UPND, Kasera akarinwa UPND. Wose na ba president ni hapa tunavotera same suti wanakama. But anti corruption kulipe. So vati sivasakira kuno why kapatuwa ka corruption kauti vadisakira tape va PF takana. So you tufuna basa Kongole babire bati vanti corruption wasakire greda inaso bakuno yamene vanagula va PF
manje greda inaso babwanji ikulu aini mumvera. Hello
greta na tipa wataiza inalotewa kuti grete kuno vakutigure kuno sione kavataizi atarema kukomplena ndrama inaguliwa so tifuna vanti corruption kuno tamene tiona kaini ni UPND eka kulide sivasakira corruption so that's why tifuna kuti apa bagari bachoke so that trete vantu vazasakira ijari zipa futi vantu vataiza tamene tipepa kuli imwe kuno vanamanga kliniki ndisa amene tinasongera mu community ndrama manje lero tichitidabwisa kuti vakambati ni CDF nanga 150,000 amene tinasongera kuti timangi kliniki iri kuti ilo vanama tini CDF tunayembekeza ku prime kuti vaverenge news tivatumire va prime kuti vanama vapere vatume vantu va president vavo va private naimwe vateni mubore kuno so vati muspose mu community ngati vantu sivanasongere ndrama noti vazinama vantu ati CDF i7 kliniki amene muzakaona ku prime ati kumazabuka vamanga kliniki vagari kombo ni boza ni ndrama za community
zikomo
zikomo.
All right, trying to be brief so that we can accommodate as many callers as we can accommodate. We would love to get your views on in regards to our topic of discussion this afternoon. We are looking at the announcement that was made by government that they plan to borrow an additional 14.8 billion kwacha from domestic market to cover up for budget shortfalls. So you start by reducing the volume on your TV set and we continue to discuss this topic. You are through to Lunchtime Chat. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Your name and where are you calling from?
That's KBN.
Yes, you're through to KBN TV.
Yes, I'm calling within Lusaka. My name is Chama.
You can go ahead.
I'm calling from Lusaka.
Reduce the volume on your TV set or move away, go to the other room if possible, so that we can have a smooth conversation.
Yes, the TV, the volume is off.
All right, you can go ahead.
Yes, I can see I just want to contribute something, madam. Hello?
We're getting you, sir. You can go ahead.
You are getting me?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes. That gentleman, I can give him recommendation. He's talking sense and he's analyzing well. He's very right. Two, if they say, before I talk on the borrowing of that money, if they say they have increased the CDF, how many constituencies do we have here in Lusaka? We have 7 constituencies. Then 30 million times 7, you will find the answer. It's 200 and something million, 200 plus million. Then can we see this 200 plus million in Lusaka being developed? Or can we see a physical picture show this 200 plus or 30 million in each constituency? Because if we multiply 30 times 7, it comes to 270 or 210 somewhere there. Now, can we see this development? I suspect this money is just being shared.
Right.
We could have gone somewhere. Now, borrowing, you see, we have Kasenseri mine where we can sell gold and get money. Gold is expensive mineral. So why are we always rushing to borrowing? Because last time, IMF, there was a celebration that IMF, we have borrowed this now. That money plus this, how much? Compared to the previous administration. I'm not too political, I'm not trying to be politicized, but this time we are following. If they can listen, not to borrow. The conditions of IMF, they haven't been disclosed. That's why we see shortages of fuel going up, minimum going, cost of living is high.
Thank you very much.
Again, this amount, 14.8 billion. What is the use for 14.8 billion?
Thank you very much. All right, try to be brief so that we accommodate as many callers. Remember, this is Lunchtime Chat. We are discussing the issue of borrowing, where government announced that they plan to borrow 14.8 billion kwacha from domestic market to cover up on budget shortfalls. So your views on that, where can they probably get that money instead of borrowing, even if it's from the domestic market, but where do you feel government can get that money to avoid borrowing and have an economy which is stable? So those following on Facebook, we have Asta Tembo saying, at working government, busy getting debt, sad indeed. And then Alessia Phiri says, it is sad indeed, people. And then Paul Chaziasiame says, we are seriously lacking leadership as a country called Zambia. Year in, year out, supplementary budgets. And then Business Interaction Zambia says, borrowing 40. What happened to fiscal discipline? Zambia can't carry any more debt loads. Well, thank you for those comments if you're watching us on Facebook. Your response to most of these views that we have gotten from people, most of them are not of the idea of borrowing, despite government mentioning that they plan to borrow this amount from the domestic market.
Thank you very much. I think most of the callers have raised concerns over the same issue of borrowing money. And most of them have touched the issue of CDF, which has also been something which this government has been bragging about. They have been boasting about CDF. They are talking much about CDF, and yet when you get on the ground, there is no development whatsoever that is being conducted anyway. Now, I have, I at some point had access to check through their forms of CDF on how they have allocated the monies. We are told that 60% is allocated for project developments in each constituency, out of the 100% from the 36 plus million which they are giving us CDF per constituency. Then 20% goes for bursaries, and the other 20% goes for grants and loans. Now, I want to stick on the 60% allocation. When we look at these constituencies that we have, for instance, in Lusaka district, like what my my brother alluded to, one of the callers. He said, when you calculate all these monies, a lot of money, but we do not see any development whatsoever that is being conducted on the ground. And there's another person from Mazabuka who is now saying they contributed money, about 150,000, if not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's saying they used that money to build a hospital in their constituents. And then government today is claiming that they are the ones that have built that, and yet it was from the community itself. This is the incompetence, comrade. CDF, they have talked much about CDF, but there's no development anywhere that is being undertaken. Compared to what we saw in the past, in the previous regime, it was about 1.6 million, but you and I can agree that at least we are able to see some hospitals that have been built through the same, some schools and police posts that have been built from the same. So the question is, where is the 36 million plus failing? This now brings a lot of questions, and people who now suspect that this government is stealing money. And yes, we can equally say they are stealing money, because if they are not stealing, where are they taking this money? Okay, 60% is just way too much. At least something tangible must be visible in the eyes of the people. But there's nothing that we are seeing. So it's high time that Zambians should now know that the UPND are not committed to develop this country. They don't mean well to this country. They are wasting our time. And my clear advice that I would give to the UPND is that it would be prudent enough if they were going to resign, so that we don't waste more money, more time, because time waits for no one.
Okay.
We must work within time. They are given a constitutional mandate, a constitutional contract that we've given the UPND is 5 years. There's nothing more. Okay, it's 5 years. And if they have failed in 5 years, we have no any other time to give them, because they have failed in 5 years, and even if giving them 10 years, it will still be the same. So I think the issues that the citizens are raising today, if we had a listening government by now, they would have listened to this advice. But like I have been saying time and again, that we have a government that has got selective listening. They have got what they want to listen to. And once you tell them what they don't want, you become enemies with them. Okay, they have accused the Patriotic Front, but at least we have seen one or two things that the Patriotic Front have done. What legacy will President Hichilema and the UPND leave behind, if not arresting opposition political leaders that will come out strongly condemning all these things that they are doing, forgetting that all opposition political parties are charged with the responsibility of providing checks and balances, criticizing the government. If they are not doing things that we feel they are right, we have that constitutional right to speak as citizens. But now you are silencing us with cyber whatever today. I think it's high time that the UPND should pack and leave, like one of the callers has said.
All right. We close with a few text messages here. This one says, we have heard of borrowing Bushe ama minerals. I need an answer, please. Mpundu from Mpika. Another text here says, Bushe e mingalato. Okay. This other text here says, the government stay like what it is not to borrow. That's a lot of money. Okay. The other text says, reads, good afternoon, please don't compare UPND and PF. A lot went wrong during PF government. They used to kill people. There was no deployment. CDF was very little. Yet today we are able to see more than 40,000 teachers. So I think probably this responds to you asked the question, at what legacy are they going to leave behind? This person has said they managed to employ 40,000 teachers, which was not seen under the previous regime.
All right, issues of...
to close with that, you have a minute.
Civil service employment, comrade. In the first place, every successive government that has come in has managed to employ civil servants. The question is, do you employ beyond your capacity? No, you don't. So, the UPND, let me say, the MMD employed according to the capacity that was readily available at that time. The PF did the same. Are we forgetting the fact that the Patriotic Front has built hospitals, has built police stations, has built schools? So, do you think that if a school is built, then you cannot employ people that should render a service in that school? No, it's not possible. So, if we are to give the UPND credit for employing civil servants, I think let's begin by appreciating those that built the same schools, those that built hospitals. Okay, then civil service employment is not job creation. A person that builds a house, comrade, is more appreciated than the person who gives an opportunity to rent in that house. Personally, I wouldn't appreciate a person who has given me an opportunity to rent in that house. I would appreciate the person who built the house. So it's like what the madam is saying here is that we should forget about the Patriotic Front that built those same hospitals, schools, and the police stations. Then we should give a hand of applause to the UPND who have now come in and employed civil servants. No, it doesn't work like that. Huh? The issue of civil service is not job creation. Let's not lie to ourselves. So it's unfortunate that we have got such minds that would think that a person that employs you is more than a person who creates job opportunities. I think the UPND promised that they were going to create opportunities, job employment. Where are those job employments? There's nothing.
Isn't it the same 40,000 teachers we've seen health
workers
being
comrade, they did not create that.
But anyway, I think that will be for another day.
Maybe the question before I leave.
We're out of time.
Maybe the question I will leave would be, if the PF had not created those hospitals, schools and whatever, were the UPND going to employ that huge number of civil servants? The answer is no.
All right.
So I will leave it up to them to make their own conclusions.
All right. Thank you very much for making an appearance on Lunchtime Chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was Mr. Bartholomew Phiri, who is Lusaka Province Youth Secretary, Socialist Party. This afternoon, we're looking at the issue at hand, where government had announced that they will borrow additional 14.8 billion kwacha from domestic market to cover budget shortfalls. I've been your host, Taizia Chela. I'll see you tomorrow at exactly 13 hours on Lunchtime Chat. Continue watching KVN TV, the finest television. Have a lovely afternoon.
entertainment is always on. With DSTV Stream, anywhere it's on. Thrilling sports action, captivating novella.